Hello guys, welcome to this video. Today we're gonna see the CARV style. So I've heard lots of people have requested these artists. Also I've heard you about the project files. So unfortunately I can't provide the full project file with the samples because of copyright reasons. Some of these samples are bought, so I can't hand over these files to you, but I will provide the project files with the settings so that you can just tweak the knobs, the parameters, and play with the plugins with your own samples. So already I want to thank everybody that support the channel. It means a lot to me. Especially for this video, I put in a lot of work. So if you like this content, please like, subscribe and share. And a lot of other videos like this are coming. Alright, so already let's dive into the different elements of a CARV track. Jump. Okay, so first I'm gonna talk about the kick. I have several layers and I want to explain how I did this. So first is what you've heard from the preview. But I have some variations. So first, this kick was made of a sample. This is a sample from Randomer. That comes from a sample pack that is on Splice. It's a very good sample pack if you want to get it. And this is the main sound that CARV is using in his tracks. So if you want to sound the same, you could use this sample. So that's why I used it, just to show you. So this is the sample. And he uses this as the main kick, and then you have the bass. So CARV uses either a side bass as a bass or a reverse bass, and you can also use a combination of the two. So for instance here I have a reverse bass, I have a side bass, and I can use both. And all the three combined gives me this kick. So we're gonna see how we did this. So by using the sample, just a bit of saturation, nothing special on this one. So just to get a bit more harmonic saturation. On the group, we have the same thing as usual. So I have just a bit of saturation on the top, some compression to manage the dynamic, and just some EQ, just to withdraw the mud here. So it's more clean. Because usually when you put your saturation on or any kind of distortion, you get lots of resonances in this low mid-range, and usually around 100 to 300 Hertz. It's useful to get this EQ. So now let's dive into the bass. So I have identified my key with the, so here it's a sample, it's in F, but I can use here the spectrum to get the key. And I made the Sybase out of Serum. So this is a reverse bass. I'm gonna show you after the Sybase also. So this reverse bass, my main sound is coming from this oscillator. So what makes the reverse bass is this sidechain effect. So you have to link the LFO to the volume of the first oscillator. Next, you have to link the low pass filter with the cutoff of the filter to the LFO. So you get this high end of the spectrum to the low end when triggering it. And pretty much that's it. Just it's the basic to get the reverse bass. Then if you want to make different kind of sounds and create different tones and sound design, what you can do, so you have multiple choice, but first you can change the sound source, so just changing the wave. So this is the first one. Second one is on FM synthesis. So you get this second oscillator, which is put down to 0 because 2 sound waves would be a bit too much. It's usually too messy, as you can see, but it can work on specific parameters. But for now, we will keep it down to 0. And so you can link here FM from B, and you can get different result from the FM synthesis. That way. And of course you can change also this sound source here, and you will get different results. The other parameters on which you can act is the reverb, distortion, and delay. So this is what I've done with the reverb and dimension here. It's basically a kind of delay or reverb. And also on the distortion, you can change the distortion mode and get different tones. You can also throw down an amp here or any kind of other saturation, and you will get some different vibes. And also what is important is the EQ here. You want to make resonate a bit more this low mid and the sub, and usually you get a resonancy here around 1 kHz, and so this will sound better with the kick. There you go. And of course, finally I have another sidechain because I thought it was cleaner, and this sharp sidechain is usually better to get a color answer with the kick. Okay, you see. So this is how I made this reverse bass, and you also can combine the reverse bass with another one. So this is equivalent to having 2 sound sources here, actually. Or you can combine reverse bass with a Sybase, and that's what I did for the main sound of this kick. You see, so you get plenty of ways to get different sounds. So I'm gonna show you also how I made these Sybase. So this is quite the same parameters. The difference, of course, is that the note played here with the envelope is very short. So you want something sharp. And I've added an amp here. I have also different sound source, but it's quite the same parameters. And of course, I play here the triplet, but it's almost the same way that it's built. And you can try also different side chains, because of course you get 3 notes, so it's not as sharp as the reverse bass, but still I keep it a bit like 50% to get the vibe and a better groove. You can also add a drum bass to get something more saturated. And this is basically how I made these kicks. So next I have another kick sample. Well, it's not a sample actually. So I wanted to show you an example without the sample that is used by CARV. Other than these samples, I think he uses also some 99 more basic kicks. So I try to do this one. So without the group effects, let's see how I did this. So I use what I do usually. So I'm layering. So I have this 909 kick, which is the bass sample. It's actually this one. So this is the most basic sample. This is the one from Ableton. First I distort. I clean up the thing. So I want to keep the low and just the lows. The mid will come from other samples. So I duplicate this channel with the same sample, but I keep the lows this time. I keep the mids, sorry, and I enhance it with the overdrive. Then I have my top. Well, no, it's another mid layer, but this time I use the amp. So I duplicate this one, I just add the amp, and I only keep the mids because I want the mid distorted. Then I have a snare. This is also all our samples from Ableton for another mid layer. So no bass to clash with the sub here. And another mid-high, just with a snare to get the transient, and you get this sidechain, so really just to get the transient. And so with this, I have my kick. And I distort it. So slight reverb just to get here a bit more mid, and the slight effect, reverb effect, distortion. Really, this is the main. And I use analog clip. I explained you in the previous video. This is because if I hear the hard curve but with low drive, I have more distortion, but I lose the dynamic and the punch. So it's better to go slightly with an analog, and it's also better to have 2 different saturation actually. So I could do like this and get the same results. So this is for my main kick, and I have my rumble, and I will explain again how I did this rumble, because last time it wasn't clear. So I have this kick that is huge in terms of low. So I want to make sure I choose a sample that has lots of lows and sub. I distort. I put 100% reverb. So you can use either your preferred reverb. I use Valhalla Vintage, but you can use convolution reverb, amp, whatever. And you get this huge industrial mess. And you click to freeze and flatten. And you get this sample. And with this, you just have to keep only the sub, and you have a big rumble. And you can distort again if you want to get different tones, like this, and then sidechain, of course. And this is a pretty short sidechain because I want to keep the space for other things such as the bass. And so this is my kick and rumble. And you have the group effects, so a bit more saturation, but not 100% because it's too much. Same compressor, same EQ to get rid of the mud here, and just to add a bit more highs at the end. The amp, very low, wet, and just the highs. And this is my kick. And with this kick, I can add the bass. So this time it was a different key. So it was in A, like this. But in the scale of A, you can have different notes, of course. And I thought this is better with the F. Well, at least you have different vibe depending on the note. And I think it's darker with the F than the A. And it also works because in the scale, in the A scale, you have the F that is the fifth or something like this. So if you have your F here, you have A here, and it's the fifth. And so that's why these two notes works together. And usually you get more dynamic, more groove when combining these two than playing monotone and playing the kick A with the bass A. So sometimes it's better to try with different notes as long as it's in the key, and you can get better results. And you can try different variations, different combinations of these two bass, reverse and side bass, and you can get huge kicks. But for this video, I kept the first one, and I just added a little more ambience to this kick, just to put a bit more room. So with this slight effect, this slight noise. And as usual, so I took an impact. This is a good way to get this kind of ambience for your kicks. So I can find it. This was this one at first. And I took a small part of it, so I try with different parts of the sample, so either this one or this one or this one. I've just duplicated so that it's a loop, a quick loop, so that I already get some movement and some speed from it. And I just want the mid part to get this noise. And of course I sidechain, and I made the combination of these two sidechains to have something more interesting. You see, so I have kind of a groove coming from these two sidechains because it's cut down here, it goes up and it goes down, and so it gets different results, and it's interesting. And so ready for my intro, I have this this moving thing. So next, I have my drums. So as a lot of hard techno artists, lots of the drums comes from drum machines. It's usually basic 909 samples that are slightly distorted, twisted, or sometimes pitched down or pitched up. So this is what I did for this one. We have the main open hat. And I use what I do usually with these art techno tutorials. It's just choosing the right level of saturation. So starting from the basic sample, I saturate to get the kind of art techno vibe that the artist is willing to put in. I use the drum bus to get the dynamic right and compression. I EQ, of course, because lots of lows are coming from these overdrives. And then I put everything in the room. And I try to use the same room for every element of the track so that it's more coherent as the final product. And also because it's easier, to apply this to every channels. So usually for industrial or art techno vibe, you have a huge reverb. So not too much for the drums because then it gets messy. So here it's just to put a room. So it's decay under 2 seconds and between 0 and 20%. And a slight delay to make the thing a bit moving, to have more space. And then I have my sidechain. And this time I used this double sidechain and I applied the sidechain depending on the element of the track for every channel. So in terms of pattern, this is quite an easy and simple one. You get the main open hat and you just get this before just to get a bit more drive. It's not as boring as this. You see? Also, I get a slight variation when combining with another channel, another 909, that is a bit more, that is longer and a bit pitched down comparing to this one, and it plays together. You see? So it keeps the thing entertaining as the track evolves. And this is exactly the same processing. Also, then I have my ride. This is a 909 ride. This is the sample from Ableton. These basic samples are simples, but they are very effective because it's professional recorded sounds. So it's richer and not processed, as a lot of samples on the internet. Sometimes it's a bit more too much processed, so you lose some frequencies. So this is nice to use, and this is just a pattern like this. So just the ride playing fully, and then the other one and playing with the same rhythm as the open hat. And really, there's not much processing, just the sidechain. And you get this EQ because I have some resonances that are a bit too much pronounced. So here in the high end, especially around 10k plus, and here just a bit mild EQ. And finally we have our clap, and CARV has a really specific clap. So this is a 909 clap that's transformed into a kind of snare. And so to get this, you need saturation. So I used overdrives, and then it's the same chain as the rest. So just sidechain, delay, reverb. Here it's just a matter of trying different saturation. So I tried with trash, different kinds of saturation, and here it was getting the result that I wanted. Also sometimes switch the different plugins, so overdrive before, after, you get different results. You see, it's not the same. And yeah, just about trying different distortion until you get the sound that you want. As long as the sound source is good, you will reach the kind of sound you want. There's not much processing. Then I have my vocal. So here, just a vocal that I found. Same processing, reverb, delay, sidechain, and overdrive, because it's too dry without it. And here the overdrive also plays the role as a low pass filter. You want something dark, and this way I get the saturation, so I withdraw all of these eyes to get this. And here I just have a little pattern to make the tension, to build the tension before the drop, and it's actually a drop vocal, and then you get the drop. Also you have this slight variation with the kicks and the reverse. So also when building these kicks, you can keep different samples, trying different bass, and then you can make this kind of variations. So next I have my noise. So to do this kind of noise, I use two things. First is the same sample as the clap, and second one is Serum with the noise generator. So let's first dive into the first one. So this is my clap, but to get this squash sound, noise sound, I put even more compression and even more distortion than the clap itself that I made for the track. So I tried with trash to use the most heavy settings and full on wet to get this result. So already it's squashed because of overdrive and also with the heavy mode amp, and I actually put two of them. So this way you get this noisy sound, and really that's it. Also the reverb and delay has a huge role. Here it's too dry and the delay works, and with the mid settings, the mid EQ, it's effective to get something dark in an industrial. For the other one, I use Serum, and I use a little trick with the EQ. So let's first see what I did in Serum. So in terms of MIDI, it's just a note like this. So same distortion, the heavy mode, what brings this squash sound. Because you see here it's just noise, and then it's heavy distorted noise. So you have a noise generator here. You can use different settings. Lots of them are native from Serum, so you have them. And I use this LFO to put on the noise level. So the sound goes up and down. also with the filter, so it's the same settings as the Sybase and the reverse bass actually. It's just playing here with the rate of the LFO, and the LFO has to be under trigger mode so that every time it plays, it comes from up and it goes down. And you can play with this frequency. To get what you want. Like this. And second thing is this thing. So to have this kind of movement, you can either use a MIDI controller if you have one, or you can use your mouse. And so I recorded, and when recording, I was moving this in the process, and this was recording this MIDI pattern, and I was playing the notes at the same time. So I can show you. Just have to arm and play. And so it records at the same time as the note you play, and also the MIDI that you move. And then you have it, you just have to duplicate, you can change it, or you can play with it to correct it. And this is what I did also for this one. It's just other notes, other kind of patterns. And this is what I usually do. It's playing with the call and answer. So this one is calling, this one is answering, this one is answering after. So these three layers, noise layer, are playing together and playing a game of call and answer. And you can have lots of variations. So here at first you have 4 notes, then after it's only 2 notes. Sometimes it's quicker, so you can really have fun with it. And really, you keep the coherence because it's the same sound, and if you change the pattern, it really keeps the thing interesting as the track evolves. You can be really original and creative with this. So then come the chords. So as I was analyzing the CARV tracks, there are different types of leads. You get these leads with the noise that I show you. You get the leads with this kind of chords that you can easily get from a Rave Generator plugin. This is usually the T99 sample. And you get also the screeches. So I've already shown you screeches in other video, but I will show you another example. So I have done multiple leads for this track. You will see with the project file to play with them, understand how they were made. I just kept the chords one because it was better fit with the synths, the brass at the end. So this one is pretty simple because it's only using the sample from Rave Generator. You got the amp, double amp for the saturation, of course the heavy mode that is almost mandatory for this style, and you got the usual space with some delay and reverb and the sidechain. And in terms of pattern, it was heavily inspired by one of his tracks, but here's just the root note, the F, that fits with the kick, and that it's played here. And one important thing is to have a variation at the end of the bar, or at the end of 2 bars or 4 bars, to have some movement that keeps coming. The other one is with the noise. And it's actually using the same sample, so really important to recycle your channels. So this is the same, it's just I used a different pattern here and I played with. Next one is a synth. So I also have this little trick with this movement. So you have the thing here that was duplicated. Same processing, and in terms of synth, this is the same settings as the noise, just that I added oscillators underneath or upon this noise, and I used lots of detune unison to get something right, wide and big, and I layer it. So I have added this oscillator beat just to get more power from the mono on the synths. And finally I have a screech. With different patterns. So here there's no rules, just play with it. Play an octave up, an octave down. Just try different rhythms. And so it's the same processing as the previous channels. It's just that I made a screech on Serum. So I use saw wave because it's the most powerful that you can have. Lots of unison, so same as the previous synths. The trick is I use a different filter, so it's a high filter that is linked to the LFO, and the LFO is also linked to the noise level, so it gives that transient when playing. But what makes it a screech is the pitch variation. So it's the LFO here that is linked to the chords, and you must have this chords in the one-way directional here, and you can play with it to get so you get different pitch variation. You can go very up. You can also play here with the envelope. So it will go higher or lower. Also the speed at which it's playing. You can play with the resonancy also to get different tones. And also you could add some distortion, some other reverbs to get different tones. But I will let you play with this preset. And so that's it for the leads. And finally we have the brass with this little chord sequence. So this one I make it come slow with the auto filter. And in terms of chord progression, I was heavily inspired by CARV, one of his tracks. So lots of his synths for the breakdowns are coming from brass. So this is huge detune oscillators. So in terms of pattern, I start from the root note. I go here. This is the 7th, I guess, and go back to the root note, but 1 octave above, get back to the 5th, and you get the same pattern just with a slight variation. And so just use the scale and use this duplication, so it's the same rhythm, just slight variation here. So either you can use this preset, it's from Ableton, it works. brass, but actually you get lots of brass in Ableton that are already useful, and or you can use Serum to make it your own. So here just the important point is the EQ to get something strong. So as usual, I withdraw the resonance here and I boost the low mids. So powerful. I just use the same room as the other elements. Or you can use a more complex synths. So here nothing really interesting in terms of processing, is the same as the other channels, but here the processing is a bit more complex. Also in the chord progression I add the octave above this point of the track. So here you get another layer when coming from this to this. And so this is a preset that I've done a while ago, but you will be able to use it. So I have different layers of saw waves, also a sub, so it's a very full sound. All of these are linked, so the level, the sound level is linked to the velocity and the way you push the key when playing it. You also have a slight variation on the envelope, so it's not a big attack, but it comes a bit slow, and then you get the sustain. Also I have another envelope that's linked to the low pass filter. And I get different effects. So I will not go deep dive on this preset. Maybe I will do a fundamental series on the different layers of a track. So a specific video on kicks, a specific on the bass, specific on pads and other ones. And I will go deeper in this kind of preset. But there you go. Just a brass, and the key components of a brass is the waves, lots of unison, big sound, and to make it fuller I have all of these effects. So the saturation, the reverb, the delay, maybe I have a multi-band compressor also. No, not really, just compression. But yeah, that's it. Alright, so that's it for this video. As you saw, it was a bit of a mess for me because I have some CPU problems, so I had to record the different parts. It was a bit of work, but there you go. Thank you so much for the one that supports the channel by commenting, putting some like or sharing the videos. Really appreciate it. So let me know for the next video what kind of tutorials you want to see, and see you in the next one.